Welcome to the Core Show. We're on episode 19. We're very excited. Thank you all for joining us today. In the UK, it's very early, just so you know. And in Canada, it's very, very early. I'm Ranjeet Kaur from the UK, and here with me is my co-host, Gurinder Kaur from Melbourne, Australia. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh, Penji.
Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh, Penji. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good as well. We have a long
That's
weekend
great.
here, so it's more exciting.
Yay. What have you got planned?
Well, nothing much here. We've got some pending jobs, so just need to get those done. So yes, looking forward. It's the Melbourne Cup weekend, but as usual, it's not going to happen because of the COVID pandemic, restrictions. But still, we're going to enjoy the long break we have.
Yeah, it's become very restrictive here as well in the UK, but it carries on. So, but today's topic is very different, as we will be speaking to Gurpreet Kaur Mann from Canada, and there is a slight time difference over there as well. So it's about 4 a.m. because time's moved.
Wow.
But I'm sure people will come and look at the program later. So Gurpreet Kaur today will be sharing her experience and knowledge on the issue and struggles and challenges of being a divorcee. And this is a huge taboo topic, especially in our Asian community. I mean, what do you think about this, Benji, regarding this topic?
Well, definitely. If I look even 5 to 10 years back, I think it was, or even it is definitely a taboo in South Asian families, and especially Punjabi or even Sikh families. But from last few years, Penji, I definitely am seeing that the perspective of this taboo is actually changing, and people are getting more acceptance. But yes, I think we definitely looking forward to see what someone's journey who has actually been gone through it, what they think of that. I think that will really be useful just to understand.
No, definitely, it will be. So let's welcome our guest to the show and find out more. Hello, Gurpreet.
Hi.
Welcome to the Core Show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good. I'm not waking up at 3. I'm great.
Yeah, so although I thought it was early in England, but actually in Canada it's like 4 a.m. So
yeah, we
well
also
done.
have a time difference, so
yeah.
No,
that's good. Could you please tell our audience and ourselves a little about yourself and your background, please?
Sure. So I'm born and raised in Canada, Toronto specifically, and I got married when I was 28. It was kind of like a semi-arranged marriage. And then obviously I got a divorce, since I'm here talking about it, within 8.5 months through into the marriage. And but it's been 11 years or so. But right now I want to focus on a little bit sharing who I am. I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own consulting company successfully, and I'm standing on my 2 feet. And it's been quite a journey the last 11 years, I would say. So yeah, that's in a nutshell a little bit about myself.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. And what made you want to come to the Core Show to talk about this topic?
What made me come on to your guys' show to talk about this topic is I think it's important conversations that we should have. I think a lot of South Asians, when we talk about divorce, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. It's not something that we openly welcome a topic to talk about. And I think more and more it's important because there's more and more people getting divorced. That's the reality. Tons of people are getting divorced. There is an institute in UK, I forgot the actual name, it's a Sikh institute. They're actually collecting data right now. They're doing some research on this. 50% of marriages end up in divorce in the Sikh community. In first year of marriage, which is a lot, right? Like that's a huge number. And I think it's really important to talk about, the challenges that come with their being South Asian. Yeah, times are changing, but I wouldn't say we're quite there yet. Maybe the next generation is going to have a totally different. But I think it's a topic that's really important because there's tons of people that either are continuing staying in marriages they shouldn't. Second, my situation is a little bit different because mine was mentally and a few times physically abusive. and hence why I got out. And there's tons of individuals, a lot of females in South Asian are staying in abusive relationships and don't get out for the sake of, for many reasons. And one of the biggest, I think it is log ki kyange, right? Like that's our Punjabi saying, log ki kyange. Every decision comes back to log ki kyange. And some people stay in it, or it's, you stay in it because, your parents are telling you to stay in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think it's a topic for me because I've been through it. My family supported me. We don't put up with abuse. But I know tons of people, like I have my own cousin who stayed in abusive, toxic relationship for 5-6 years for the same reason, because I got married. Embarrassment. You do feel embarrassed. It's not an easy thing to go through. I felt embarrassed for years. And that's why I want to come openly talk about it, because there's tons of people out there that can either need assistance. This can help someone to recognize some signs, or just that support, because we don't even have a divorce support group in our own communities. That's how, nobody wants to talk about it.
I think Gurpreet, you have mentioned very, very valid point, that Loki can get. In one of our episodes, we have actually talked about this as well, and judgment that people make. And definitely, I think divorce is something where people make pre-assumptions about, the character of a person as well. And they start making stories of something that would have happened, and they are not even aware of that. So this is definitely a miserable condition of the community as well, that we start making judgments. And what you said, like I've personally come across many stories where people are actually living with abusive, life experiences, and just delaying the decision of taking divorce and just spending their whole life with, abusive behavior. Yeah, and definitely, as we mentioned earlier, it's a taboo in the South Asian communities and Punjabi communities, everything. Do you think the perspective is changing nowadays or not?
I would say it is, just because even here in Canada, a lot of people are getting divorced. I know a lot. Now, like when I was going through a divorce, I only knew 2 people. One was one of my aunts and one was my friend, and I actually leaned on them. I didn't lean on anybody. I only leaned on them. Actually, my friend was the first person I called to when I was kind of deciding what to do. And he walked me through some things, and then eventually I left. And even going through that wasn't easy. Like picking up, I actually just walked out one day. But I would say times are changing because there's tons of more people getting divorced. Like I have a family friend. He's divorced. He was Amatari. He ended up getting a divorce. His sister was Amatari. She got a divorce. Same thing. Hers was same thing, abuse, but she put up with it for so many years. I think times are changing because our generation, my generation, your generation, they're different from my parents' generation. Our parents were taught, like my mom and them were taught to stay. You got married, you deal with everything and you don't get a divorce, right? That generation was taught to stay in marriages. Our generations are not taught. It's not that we're not taught, but we can't expect better. We know we deserve better. Some people stay, some people may not stay. I'm not saying that, hey, go get a divorce. I don't think anybody gets married to get a divorce, to be honest. I didn't get married to get a divorce. But yes, I would say that it is becoming kind of acceptable, but not to the level it should be, because we still get labeled divorcee. And, if you want to get married again, then you should be looking for a divorced person. Like just recently, I remember my mom wanted me to tell somebody. So I told somebody that me and my brother, mostly for my brother. And then I was like, I'll tell them I'm single too. I'm looking to get married too, if you guys know anybody. So these ladies that I met from the Gurdwara, they started a seva just to help people, introduce people. And I told my mom, yeah, I told her about me too. She goes, the first thing that came out of my mom's mouth, did you tell her you're divorcee? You're divorced? And I got a little bit annoyed because I don't identify myself like that. Like I don't, like It's been 11 years. Why do I need to keep labeling divorce? So then I was like, you know what? I'll tell her. What she said to me was the most amazing thing I've ever heard someone say, and such an enlightenment, encouragement. She's like, who cares? That's not you. That doesn't define you. She goes, that's not an information that no one needs to know. And I was like, thank you. And that's how I feel. Like, but in the South Asian community, we do still see it as a taboo. And here's why. Because when you're trying to talk to a guy, I disclose right away. Their attitude changes. Some people like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to talk to you because you're divorced. Another person said to me, I'm okay, but my parents will not be okay. So there is that taboo because we're not openly welcoming other people if they're divorced. Just recently, I was trying to introduce someone to a person and that person was divorced, and he said the same thing, no. So I don't think we're that open about it because we still have a little bit this phobia around it that if someone's divorced, then they're like there's something wrong with them, and that's why their marriage didn't work out. And I don't want that for me, so I'm just gonna avoid this person. But I think females have to go through this more than men, because I know men that got married again, and the partners they married, they're not divorcees. They were never married before. I think females are more open to speaking to a guy or man who's divorced, but I think men in our South Asian culture are not that open to talk to, like, even consider someone that's divorced.
No, I totally agree. I agree with you. Totally agree with you. And the women have the stigma attached to them a lot more than the men do. And I like how you said earlier, it does not define you, and it definitely doesn't define you because it's happened. It's a situation that's been unavoidable. We have got a comment from Gurpreet Singh. I like to go with the comments as well, so we don't forget as we go. So nowadays, girls are marrying boys just for visa stamp, and once their desire of abroad is complete, they demand divorce. What are your opinions and thoughts on this?
I think this is either way as well. So it's happening both with men and women.
That's a great question. I don't have a personal opinion on this. It's a great question because it is happening. And now I'm gonna sound funny because a lot of females in India, girls are, but they're doing like contract marriages. Pay me this much, I'll get the guy over there. If it's done openly and you're open about it and vocal about it, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're deceiving somebody and you're not genuinely honest, hey, listen, I'll do like a fake marriage, get you to come, sponsor you, get you to Canada, US, wherever, and then we go our separate ways. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you are not open about that and just getting married and then you want divorce, again, I'm not here to judge each individual's choices. It's your choice. You're open to do what you want. But I've heard these stories a lot too. Like a lot of people are doing this.
Yeah.
No opinion.
And definitely. Yeah. So as I said, it's happening both ways. I know the trend of migration and, securing and getting settled in the West is definitely attracting our youth.
Yeah.
And, they're trying to find matchmakings. And so just for our audience, I think we'd like to just a bit of clarification that today's our topic, definitely, even though it's based on divorce, what we want to discuss today, more out of this context, is about that label of divorce and how the society is accepting you, rather than going into the reasons which may be part of this, but our more broader context is the acceptance and the struggles that you have to face after this happens.
Exactly that. I want to highlight something. Like, times are changing, but you're also seeing like untouchable. You know how in India there's a caste system, and then if you're in the lower caste, you're seen like the untouchable. That's how South Asians view divorce. I've experienced some situations like that. Like I remember, not that it was done in bad intentions. I remember many years ago, my sister's sister-in-law was getting married. And in Indian culture, we do that batna ceremony just before the wedding. My own sister asked me not to put batna on her sister-in-law. And her reasoning behind this was she was trying to protect me. She goes, tomorrow, if her marriage doesn't work out and she gets a divorce, I don't want anybody, my in-laws, pointing fingers at you that you did button on her. So that's why she got divorced. So again, my sister's was coming from a great intention point. But for me, at a wedding, I'm being told not to do this. Oh yeah, I was heartbroken. And I felt like I was this untouchable person that me touching somebody, they're going to get divorced. So I remember going to the bathroom and crying. I felt, I can't even explain what I felt. But it was just like that. That was the first time, I think second time, but the first time where I was told not to do something because I'm a divorcee. And that's how much South Asian community, it's not like the fact that my sister even had to think something like that just shows that how much South Asian communities have this taboo around it, that you're seen this, no matter how amazing person you are, you're still, there's this stigma around it, and you're still seen kind of like an outcast if you're a divorcee.
No, I totally agree. So we've got a few comments in regards to the immigration and marriage. So with my thought process with this is, with the contract side of things, I've never known anyone that's done that actually. And I think with Anand marriage, it should be pure with the Gurinder Munda. But I think when it comes to this contract side of things, I don't think any marriage should be part of that, as it's not.
Oh yes, I agree.
It's not.
Yeah.
Part of the Maryada, and it's not part of Sikhi, and there's a lot of no's with that one.
Yeah. But they can't sponsor, so they end up doing all the wedding ceremony like it's a real wedding.
Yeah. And as I said before, our intention of this topic discussion is about the genuine one where you actually got married, and for whatever reason, whether there were compromises or there were other reasons, and what's the side effects after this has happened, and how this taboo is existing in the society of acceptance, especially more for women than being men. Yeah, and I was reading statistics. Yeah, sorry. I was reading statistics in India, and the statistics were telling that more women who have got divorced or they got separated, they remain unmarried comparing to the number of men, which was very interesting and aligned with this taboo. Yeah.
The number the number is interesting. And here's my thought. I think we females, as much as South Asian community wants to think the men are the strongest sex, I believe that we men need women to survive. We women actually don't need men. And I think when you go through, I went through a divorce, I became much stronger person than I was back then. Who I am today, I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of the journey. I don't have any regrets. I don't actually, I act like that part of my life never happened until someone reminds me. And when I reflect back, I'm very proud. I don't feel ashamed. I don't, but going through the process I did, because I was a spiritual person. I'm still a spiritual person. I got married in the Gurdwara, front of Guru Granth Sahib. I hold those values. But at the end of the time, I still don't want to be married to somebody that's mentally abusing me. And going through that journey of divorce, I had to basically rebuild my entire life from scratch because I was left in debt. My brother kicked me out of the house. And I basically had to find a place to live, bunk with other people, and cousins, sister, and that mentally isn't. It's a challenge. It's like everything you get. Like I got hit with everything at one time, and it took me a really long time to get over a lot of things and heal. And then the trust issue. When you go through something very tragic, I think even females, especially females, I think we are emotional people. For me, that trust, it took me a long time. Now I'm probably be more open and maybe trustworthy and trust other people in the concept of a relationship. But for years now, it does mentally impact you. Your trust, you can't my instant reaction, like especially because someone hit me, somebody mentally used to abuse me and then they hit me. And the whole time I stayed quiet. I used to stay silent. And when I left and when I had to process everything I'm going through, the back and forth, shall I work this out or shall I not? Eventually, the decision was made and I moved forward. My instant reaction when someone used to, like, I feel like someone was like saying something, attacking me or saying a little bit mean things, my instinct was to like go into like total bitch mode. Like I used to lash out until one of my cousins said it. You're always ready to fight. You're angry. I think you have anger issues. And then I took a step back when he said that. I was like, no, I'm fine. And then when you're alone, you process so many things differently. Then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's actually true, because 9 months of mental abuse and then a couple of times you get slapped around. It does. Like if we didn't say anything, it just becomes a natural reaction that you just, I don't know, I just go into, I need to protect myself. So healing process, everyone depends on how you process things. It can be a long journey to heal from it.
Yeah, definitely. And just for our viewers and the audiences watching us, I just want to mention here that everyone has their own journey of any struggles and, how they actually react to that and how they overcome the struggles and challenges. And so today we are discussing with Gurpreet about her journey, how she overcame all these strugglings time period. So you might have different views on that. And this show is just a representation of what Gurpreet has gone through. It does not mean that it's a universal truth. You might have actually different ideas. So we just want everyone to be respectable in their comments and, they can just share it without offending each other. So we hope everyone understand that. Yes, Ranjeet Panji, you can continue.
So you mentioned, Gurpreet, that you've been married for about 9 months.
Yeah.
And before the breakup, did you seek counseling as a last resort? Or was your ex-husband, was he compromising on at least trying to get it sorted in a counseling or therapy style?
No, so no counseling. And, he was a typical Indian guy, raised in a typical Indian family. The parents had 2 daughters and then they had a son and then they had another son. But having 2 daughters first and then having a son, they just basically spoiled him. He was spoiled. And his doctor put it the best way. He can get away with murder and he can kill somebody and then parents will be okay with it. They'll still help him and he can get away with murder. No, we didn't seek counseling. We lived with his parents. So everyone always used to be so scared to talk to him. One of his sisters once talked to him, but no one could. But everybody just always so scared to talk to him. No, I've openly said, if this continues, I'm not staying in this. I'm going to leave, because I grew up seeing abuse and it only gets worse. It doesn't magically just disappear. So because I've seen it as a child and growing up and I've seen it around me, that was always stuck in my head that, no, things are going to get worse. And it did. Like, things did always got worse. They didn't get better. They just always got worse. I remember a scene where I got saved by the bell. Like, there was an argument. I was home alone with him. And he was on one side of the stairs and I was on the other side of the stairs. I'm standing there frozen, like he's just going to grab me and throw me down the stairs. So I'm just like, this is it. Like, I'm going to get the worst end of this abuse today. I was standing there so scared, but luckily the doorbell rang and it was his friend. And that's how that situation ended. But if that person didn't come ringing the doorbell, I'm pretty sure he would have grabbed me and shot me down the stairs.
Yeah, that's very, shocking. And especially living with this kind of, behavior and, in this life, only that person can understand, how they're living with that. And as I mentioned before, I've actually listened to so many personal stories, and it's not just I'm talking from women's side, from men's side as well. that some of the relationships, people are still living in our society for long and long, and without any improvements. And eventually, even the latest one, I spoke to one lady, she's nearly gonna be 49, see, 50 years old nearly, and she's now at last, thinking about ending this relationship. And the whole 50 years of her life, you can see like how she has been living. So it's definitely, people are not coming forward, or they're finding it very difficult.
But I think it goes back to this taboo, right? Like,
Yes.
in our culture, divorce was never heard of.
Yeah.
And you know what's so shocking it to me now is, like, now I'm reflecting back on it, is like celebrated. Oh, Indian people don't get divorced. Yeah, what's there to celebrate? Because there's tons of people living in marriages that they shouldn't be. People are getting abused mentally. And mental abuse
Yeah.
is the most hardest thing to get over. Physical abuse, I would say you can, I'm not saying it's easy to process or get over, but you can't. The mental abuse that you suffer every single day and you're walking on eggshells, that stuff takes a really long time to heal from. The impact lasts, it can depending on your situation, it can last for years and years until like it took me a long time. I've been focused on healing for the last 2 years now. And I love Ranjeet's mom said something, and it didn't click to me until she said it on their IG story, that people don't even realize when they're going through a divorce, they are also going through a depression. They end up going through depression without even realizing that they're in depression. And that's so true, because I didn't realize it for years that I was in depression. But eventually I did, and I started taking some steps towards it. But last 2 years, I've been focused solely on healing, because I recognized that I didn't heal. Every day I used to wake up and tell myself, I can do this. Plus, I never lived alone. I had to live alone. I had to rebuild my life, pay off the debt that he left me. It's a journey. It was a journey for me. It's one that I don't regret. I'm not here to, bash my ex-husband or the situation. It still made me who I am. I'm very proud of who I become today, but it was still a journey. It wasn't an easy journey. But it is one that I'm proud of, because it made me who I am today. But the mental abuse can take a long time to get over. The healing can be very long. And tons of people are staying in marriages they're not happy in. Someone doesn't have to physically lift a finger for it to be abuse. It can be mental abuse. It can be emotional abuse. It can be you're a controlling person. Tons of reasons, tons of things. And people continue to stay because we don't talk about divorce. Now, people talking about it, but still that stigma is still there. Yes, a future generation will not have to see this, but I think it's so important to talk about this so that we as a community can support where support is needed. But I'm going to take it a step further. First of all, I don't think we should ever get married without going through marriage classes. We're the only community that doesn't even have marriage classes. Parents don't teach us what marriage is. My parents didn't sit there and tell me what marriage is and husband's role or wife's role or whatever. I didn't have any education on this. And you get married and there you go. You figure it out on your own. I do like some cultures or some religions that make you go through marriage classes as a engaged couple before you get married. Because you know what? Marriage is very tough. It's not dating. You go to your house, he goes to his house. It's so different. You're living with somebody. Your finances are together. You have to make finances decisions. You have to make so many decisions together. It's a battle. Like you have to be, where a lot of Indian culture isn't taught to see it as a partnership. A woman role is this, a man's role is this. A woman cooks and cleans and da 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 da. A man just goes and work and that's it. You don't have to do things around the house. But those roles are changing. But I think we as a community need to go a step further. Before someone gets married, I think we should be having our temples should offer marriage classes.
No, I think that's a wonderful advice as well. There should definitely be, a kind of classes or, purane jamane de vich, I remember like people talking about sikhya dinde hunde si. That's what they used to call it. Ke jadon, whenever a girl and, bride and groom are going to get married. So they used to give a sikhya, just telling about, how to settle in the new home and be more accepted and, how to live in the family and accept everyone as a family. But of course, times have changed, become more modern, and definitely we lack education in our community before going through all this. And at some places, I should also mention that there are actually more awareness happening as well. And this particular week was actually Anand Karaj Awareness Week. I think Ranjeet Penji, you might have seen some posts on the social media as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's been Anand Karaj week where people have been talking about what they expect beforehand, how it happened during the process of Anand Karaj, what their best moments were. So I think Anand Karaj, I think marriage in itself is a different journey for everyone. Like my grandparents used to sit me down and say, this is what happens in marriage and how their marriage happened and how they were fixed up at the age of 13 because they knew who they were going to marry at the age of 16 and how times have changed. And when my parents got married, they just saw each other at the Anand Karaj.
Yeah.
And that was it for them. And then when we've gotten married, it's, parents have said, get to know each other. And now we're trying to fix other people. It's very, my opinion is how it was for me, which is, exchange numbers, get to know each other, have a foundation set strong. And then, but even after, we're not gore where we're going to go live with them beforehand. And even them, the gore, they still live with each other beforehand and it doesn't work out.
Exactly.
So, and it's all about, hukum and kirpa and hukumname. We take them as a blessing from Guru Sahib of our direction, and then we accept what is. And obviously mental health is a massive issue. So when you're married and if your husband is mentally abusing you or physically or verbally or emotionally or any way, yes, it's not acceptable. And it's worse if they don't even want to go with you to counseling to rectify these issues. It's massive. So, and I don't think it's all about he's a mummy's boy or anything like that. I think it's about, we're all on our journey and it's very difficult and adapting. But I think it is harder for women because we're having to leave everything to be with the man and his family. So, but that's another topic.
And Ranjeet Penji, I just want to take this comment as well from Uma Bhardwaj. And she has mentioned that I think in the beginning of the marriage, the first year is very crucial and both the partners should have patience. And I personally agree with that. The first year of the marriage is the most difficult. And if someone can pass through that, because that's where you're actually building a relationship. You're trying to understand the family, especially in South Asian cultures. But if the things go out of hand, can go for counseling. And if nothing works, finally, what she has mentioned is divorce. So that's from Uma Bhardwaj.
So I wanted to ask you, Gurpreet, as I've got loads of questions to ask you. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, when you did come out of your marriage, did you have any support from your friends or family or even the community? Did you have anywhere to go?
So speaking of, family and friends, yes. Like, did they know how to support me? That's a different question. No. Did they support the divorce? Yeah, my dad supported it because my dad. See, I'm very grateful that my dad wasn't. He wasn't this typical Indian guy. Like my dad came to Canada in like early 70s, and he wasn't this typical Indian person or a man like that. And his thing was, no, you shouldn't have to live with somebody that hits you or abuses you. But the funny thing was that my family knew something was wrong because I'm still am. I'm very family oriented. I'm very social. I will, like, my family didn't see me for 9 months. 8.5 months I was married. They barely saw me. And they're like, when we saw you, you were always scared. You were always scared. So they knew something was up. They knew something was wrong. So when it did come out, the first thing was like, why didn't you tell us? And I was like, well, what was I supposed to tell you guys, right? I was trying to like figure out myself. And then when I just had enough and just mentally was like, I'm done. And I just called my sister and like picked me up from the corner. That's how it happened. And I just walked out. So yeah, my family supported me in that sense. But when I was going through it, after the fact that it's done and it's over, I'm going through a divorce, no, they didn't know how to support me. I think a lot of my family just thought that I need to be bounced back to the Gurpreet I was before I got married. And it was also, well, you should be grateful and thankful that you're out of this situation, so you should be happy. So no, I wouldn't say the family and friends kind of knew how to support me on that, which is totally normal, which is totally fine. That's why I leaned on a couple of people that I knew that were divorced. They were my support group. I try to look for a support group in at least in our Sikh community, because the biggest challenge mentally I had was dealing with the fact that I got married. I in front of Guru Granth Sahib, I did Lama, like all that stuff. That I think had a really big role in me getting past my divorce. Was this one area was where I was really, really stuck on. So I wanted to look for a support group in the Sikhi community. I couldn't. There was none. There was basically none. But I just honestly, my support Guru became my support. I'm the spiritual person. I don't call myself religious. Well, you can tell I have my haircut. So, but I am. I've been raised to do part, go to the Gurdwara and stuff. So I leaned on God. I think I pretty much lived in the Gurdwara. This is the only place I found peace. But that was my support. That's how my support came to be. But I also avoided a lot of places. I avoided family functions. I didn't want to go. I avoided get-togethers or anything because I felt this as shame that I'm going through a divorce. And on top of that, I just got married 9 months ago. So it was a really big thing to carry. But I'm grateful for anybody that did support me, but no one actually came and asked me, what do you need? What are you going through?
I think you can still be
bounce back.
You can still be spiritual, even if you're not a Gurmukh. You can still be spiritual in your own way. Everyone, again, has their own journey as well. There is a comment from Bajnam Kaur that I would like to read. She said, there is definitely a lot of stigma on females if they get divorced. All the bibiyan talk behind your back and look down on you. That is until something like that happens in their family, then they go into the hiding themselves. So I think with this comment, it's true. Women we've got much more stigma attached to us, but it's also our community, and it should be a place where people go. And a lot of our apne bande don't know how to deal with the mental health side of things, the aftermath. So although your family might wanted you to just get back to normal, it doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've gone through a turmoil and you don't know how to bounce back, or you don't know what's going on. So my next question lies with, what did you, after you came back from the marriage breakdown, did you for yourself have any professional help, or did you at that point not know that you were in a deep hole? Or
no, I tried 2 or 3 times. It wasn't for me. It didn't help me in any way. And so I've tried it 3 times. It didn't work. Honestly, the only thing that worked for me at that time, I just go to the Gurdwara. That's what.
So when you say you tried, was there a specific therapy that you went towards, or was it a group, or friends?
I didn't find a support group, so I didn't do the support group. I went counseling a couple of times, and over the 11 years, different times. Just, I don't know, I did 1 or 2 sessions with each person. I just didn't feel it was working for me. But for me, what worked for me was going to the Gurdwara. That worked for me. Being in Simran, just meditating with the Sangat, that helped me. And what really helped me was when my dad died in 2018, I found a group. My brother told me to go to this one Gurdwara that was literally, we moved, and then there was a Gurdwara right across. There's a Gurdwara right across my house right now. And there was a group of ladies that get together and do Simran. So my brother's like, we moved in a new house. Gurdwara's right there. This Gurdwara actually has BB on doing Simran at 10 a.m. So I started going. I think that group of individuals, the females, some of them are very spiritually inclined. I loved it, the energy, and no judgment. No judgment. That has really helped me. The last, I would say, couple of months, I've been doing energy healing, Reiki healing. That has really helped me. So I don't, like, I'm not here to say don't get counseling. You have to find something that will help you, that works for you. Sometimes it could be the counseling. Sometimes it may not be that for you, and maybe you need, like, maybe you need the spiritual stuff. Me being around other people helped me, like the spiritual group. Like, not that they were like like people meditating together. It's a different energy. Going to hot yoga also helped me. So you have to find something that will help you. But I would say the biggest mistake I made was, it took me a long time to recognize that I need healing. I didn't take the time to heal. Also, given my circumstances, I had to go through such a big, huge adjustment all at once. I also had to learn to live by myself. Like, I've never lived by myself. I always had people around me. There was a lot of things that came together for me that a lot of people didn't have to deal with. Like, my friends who got divorced, they didn't have to deal with a lot of the stuff that I had to go through when I was going through a divorce. So every day it was a pep talk for me in the mirror. I can do this. I can do this. So I think I kept telling myself, like, 24/7, I can do this, I can do this, that I became so strong that I totally forgot that there's a second part to this, is healing, that I need to also heal from what I went through. The healing didn't happen until, I would say, the last 2-3 years, when I actually started recognizing, especially this past year, is where I was like, you know what? I never took the time to heal, so I need to actually focus on healing now.
Definitely, I think healing is definitely required if these circumstances do happen. Now, Gurpreet, what do you think about, when a girl gets married in South Asian communities? It's being said that it's not marrying just to one person;
Yeah,
it's the
I
marriage of
agree.
two families as well. What role do you think families have played, even in your circumstances, in your case, and what in general you think they can play in, making this relationship more positive, and not ending up with a divorce?
See, my in-laws were good to me, so I have nothing to say towards my in-laws. The only disconnect I would say is that I was raised spiritually, going to the Gurdwara every weekend. Like, Gurdwara was our second home growing up. I did pot, they didn't do pot. I used to even so I eat meat. So if I'm cooking, I'll have pot playing. I think that became a little bit of a joke in my in-laws' house, that, oh, why you have pot on if you're making meat? That little disconnect, but for me, my in-laws were great. I got along with my in-laws. I just didn't, my relationship with my husband wasn't great. So that's where I had to remove myself out of a situation that no longer served me. But I do agree that till this day, I still agree on this. Regardless of your religion, regardless of for South Asian, not non-South Asian, it is two families getting married. There has to be a connection between the two families. It isn't about husband and wife. Two people, it's not two individuals getting married, it is two families getting married. And that bond can get stronger when you have the elements that both sides have the equal values. Like, my sister's in-laws are Amritari, and my mom is Amritari. She has something in common with my sister's mother-in-law. They can have conversations. Whereas my ex-mother-in-law was Amritari, but she was very modern and stuff. My mom felt a little bit insecure. I do believe it is two families getting married. I don't think it's just two people getting married. And that rift, if you have two families that clash, it will really impact you in your marriage. Then that's going to become a very challenging for the husband and wife. You're not going to leave your
I
family.
think
Both sides are not going to leave their family.
no,
You can't change your
no, I
family either.
agree. No, you can't. You can definitely not change your family. Just on this note, though, my brother, who is married to a Gauri, an English lady, and her family and she is wonderful, and her family is wonderful too. And although they're not Sikh at all, and my family is, half my family is, when they all meet together, it's pyar. And it's wonderful, even though the background is not Amritari or Gursikhi, but the respect is there. So when we go to my Gori Babi's house and we spend time with her family and her grandparents, because they're a massive family, they will make vegetarian food for us and they'll show the pyar and sharda there as well. So I think it's just about personalities and persona and character of people. Not necessarily Amritari and Amritari or non and non. It's all about how, we should all be in daya and humble and compassion, regardless of background.
It comes down to your values, right?
Yes.
The two families' values got to match. It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter your background. You could be Indian marrying a non-Indian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about race. It's not about religions. It is two families' values have to match, right? As you said, the humble, like, okay, your brother married a Godi, but pretty sure the reason you guys mesh is because the core foundation is the same, right? You're instilled with those values, you're instilled with those foundations. You can't change that. Hence where the connection and bond comes. When you have families that have different values, again, I'm not saying it's not doable and you can't make it work. I think it can drain the husband and wife. It can. But again, I'm not here to tell people what to do. I think you as an individual need to decide what will work for you. When we're looking at marriages, it can also be a two individual thing, right? Like, I'm still single, I'm not married. And if I get married tomorrow, there are certain things I do want. And the biggest thing I want is I want a partnership. I want an equal partnership. I don't want to be telling someone what to do. I'm not picking after somebody. Vice versa. I don't want them nagging on me. I'm not doing something. The acceptance of the individual. I think a lot of times we get married and then we are trying to change the person. You can't go into marriage, I'm going to change this person. You have to go into marriage because you accept the person for who they are. And I think that's where the disconnect I've seen for years now happening is a lot of people get married. Some people get married. I'm going to use me as an example. I think I got married for the wrong reasons. I had a lot of pressure to get married. My twin, I'm a twin. My sister got married. She was 26. She had a boyfriend. She got married. I was single. I didn't have a boyfriend. So much pressure, around the family to get married. I put so much pressure on me to get married. So the pressure that I put on myself, I think, led to me to make a wrong decision. Second, the fear of making a wrong choice led me to let my parents decide who I should marry. I think that was I think that was my big mistake. I was making decisions based on pressure and fear. And I wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't let someone else make a decision. I tell this openly to all my younger cousins and my nephews and nieces. You are the best person to decide what's best for you, not your parents. I know we grew up thinking our parents are best people to decide what's best for us. No, we live in our own body. They don't live in our body. There's thoughts and processes, things you feel from your heart that you may not be 100%. How many people can say that they're communicating everything that they're feeling to everyone, even your parents? I'm pretty sure we're not. That's natural. We're human beings. You are the best person to decide who is the best person for you. Own it. Don't be ashamed of it. And don't let someone tell you what to know. That's not who you should marry. No, you are the best person. I think that's the other stigma we have in the South Asian community is we're so quick to judge people. And going back to the Bibiyan comment you made where Bibiyan, talk behind your back. It's so true. What the biggest thing I've seen as of me going through a divorce is females, how females start treating you. Some people envy you. Some people think you should have stayed because, well, I'm staying, you should stay. Some people get insecure around you. I have two examples. One is mine, one's my friend. My friend recently told me she's divorced and she just had lunch with one of her friends' husband, but they're all friends. And the woman had a problem. Her friend had a problem that she had lunch with her husband. They worked in the same building. So one day just randomly met, okay, let's have lunch together. They're all friends. Had a problem. Why? Because she's divorced. Had a problem, called her so many names or whatever. Turned out the husband, the one she had lunch with, that husband was cheating on his wife with another person in the group, which was married. But that didn't, no one saw that as like, it was acceptable that a married person was hugging a married person, but a divorcee hugging a man is not acceptable. Women become the worst enemy. Something like that happened to me. I was attending a wedding a few years in California. Same thing. A woman got insecure around me and created this drama around, I don't think she did it intentionally, but it was still created. The drama was created where, felt like maybe she felt like I was flirting with her husband, which I wasn't. I knew the guy for like many years ago. And it was my cousin's cousin and whatever. She became insecure. This whole drama was created. And I said to my cousin when she brought it up, I'm first one, I'm with you 24/7. I go, this is only happening because I'm divorced. My twin sister's with me. We're both the same. We look the same. How come no one's saying anything to her? No, because I'm the divorcee. When you're divorcee in South Asian and female, eyes are on you. You're like always constantly in the spotlight. People like looking at you and judging every move you're making. You're under this spotlight, which I don't like. I don't think it should be there. We shouldn't be judging people. But again, that's just human nature.
Yep.
But I think if in female, I think women become your worst enemy, and it can be your best friends, but they can also become the one that, like, instead of supporting you, they can be the ones that bring you down.
Yeah. I think that's something that we have earlier mentioned as well, that the core values need to be, established before, getting on this relationship as well. And definitely the judgment is the worst enemy, be it any relationship,
Yeah.
be it any kind of relationship. So just, I'm conscious of the time, Gurpreet, we only have 7 minutes left. I just want to know, like, what's your journey now after divorce? So how are you using your own personal experience to probably empower others, or what are your now goals moving ahead with this one?
My goal is like being on this show is one of them, was to openly talk about it. And that's the other thing. A lot of times I'm not openly talking about it is also because family doesn't want me to talk about it, right? But I don't care about that stuff anymore. Life's too short. I think we need to raise females, especially in South Asian community, to be strong, independent women. I think that's the biggest shift that has happened because of the divorce for me, is I've become a strong, independent woman. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I've successfully started a business, which obviously our entrepreneur journey is a whole different topic. But I'm not relying on anybody. I am standing on my 2 feet. You don't need a man. In Indian culture, we have this thing. Oh, tu vyah kar, jab tera vyah hoga udo tu kar li. Jab tera vyah hoga udo tu kar li, right? Like females, that's how as I was raised. Oh no, you can't do this. But do it when you're married. Wait until you're married. Wait until you're married. We put so much emphasis on females that they can do certain things when they're married. Why are we raising our females like that? Why are we not raising strong women? So my goal is, and that's one of the reasons when I do anything, I have nieces. I want them to see me as a role model, that you don't need a man to be happy. You definitely don't need a man to survive. You can be whoever you want, yourself, independently, and then you can be in a happy relationship. But we shouldn't be raising girls that they need a man. I think it's the opposite thing we should be doing. So my journey, the last few years has typically been me openly talking about my experiences, the good, the bad, everything. I'm very vocal on LinkedIn. That's actually how I met Ranjeet, is on LinkedIn. And my goal is to empower other females, especially in the South Asian community, to really embrace our power, our power that we have inside. And we should really blossom. It's time that we come out of these shells that we've been digged in because of being in the South Asian community. I think we need to break all barriers. And what's amazing is gurus gave us females core. But how many of us can say in Sikh community that we give females that darja? as a core. We're equal to men, but we're not seen equal. Even in the Sikh community, we are kind of, the gurus gave us so much, but we're still not living up to that potential, especially when we see our females. We're not raising females to be core. And I think that's where my biggest shift is, and that's my focus, is to help anybody that comes my way, and just to be very vocal about things that need to change, and also just to inspire other future young girls that you can do this. You can do it on your own. Be independent and stand on your 2 feet. That's my message.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm really glad I met you on LinkedIn and that you approached that you wanted to be on the core show. And this topic is very sensitive. And it's a sensitive topic because it's a taboo topic, a lot that people don't want to talk about because it's challenging, it's personal, and families don't want to discuss this. But I think it is a topic that we should speak about. And that's why I had my mum on the IG stories yesterday to have her opinion of what she thinks about divorce and how people should come out, because otherwise they're going to depression. So that was an older generation to think about, what their thought process was. But I had loads to ask you, and we have run out of time. Like your biggest challenge, how it's impacted for future relationships, and what advice would you give for somebody else? But Benji, Gurpreet Kaur, I'm really glad you came on our show, and I'm glad that you shared your amazing story and experience and knowledge, where I hope that at least one individual may find inspiration or strength from you. And if somebody is in a similar situation and you would like to seek advice, here in the UK, you can contact relate.org or even Seek Your Mind or Taraqi, and they are great for further help, and they can be found on social media too. And in Australia, you can go to the Family Relationship Advice Line, where they are also helping families build better relationships. So the idea of when you have an issue in marriage is not just to let's have talaq or let's separate or let's get away from each other. It's more, let's find a resolution to solve this problem that we have. It's always good to find a solution if you can, because as a Sikh especially, talaq naal mukti nahi mildi, and the idea is not to get a divorce, but in some circumstances people do have to go in that direction. It is the absolute last resort, but otherwise, if it's avoidable in any measure, it's always the best way. And sometimes you need both families to get together and really, help each other out. And that's where I think families is very important. So are there any last speeches from you, Gurinder, Benji?
No, I think yes. As I mentioned to our audience earlier as well. So Gurpreet is not a marriage counselor, but she is someone who has gone through her own journey, and she has shared her own experience. And if you think that something is maybe beneficial to someone, please do go for it. And the core show does not endorse any views on that, but definitely I think it's definitely inspirational how someone has overcome that struggle, and definitely we need to hear more stories where it's a taboo in the society and someone is actually fighting on their own. So thank you so much, Gurpreet, for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show.
No, thank you so much for coming here. And we want to thank everyone that has joined us on this show today. We will see you again next week. If you have any comments or a specific topic that you would like covered, please send us an email to hello@thecoreshow.com. And if you would like to see any of our previous shows, then please visit our website, thecoreshow.com. Thank you, everyone. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.